Manchester United have started the season really poorly. The Reds sit in 11th place after 4 games with 2 wins and 2 losses. Things could have been so much worse, as it took a monumental effort to come back from a 2-goal deficit against Nottingham Forest. And against Wolves, up until Varane's winner, things were closely contested, before even considering what should have been a penalty for Wolves later on. I've covered 3 of United's 4 matches already on the channel, but let's bring it all together to see what exactly is going wrong for Ten Hag tactically, particularly on the ball. To mould the side even more to Ten Hag's liking, United spent over 200 million euros this summer, so it was fair for expectations to be raised. The problem though is that Rasmus Højlund came in injured and has only played 23 minutes, while Mason Mount now also has an injury, meaning that Onana aside, Ten Hag has mainly been forced to stick to what he had last season. But Onana has already brought about massive change, especially in the build-up phase. Onana versus De Gea on the ball is a night and day difference, and that's imperative to Ten Hag's system. With less ability on the ball, De Gea was much more likely to go long with the goal kick. Compared to Onana, the ability to start short, paired with the manager trusting that ability, means that so far, Onana plays 35 passes per game with a 75% completion, compared to De Gea who played 28 with a 68% completion. And to start the deep build-up, the pattern is often pretty similar to last season's. The right centre-back is often deep alongside Onana, with Martinez wide. If they are under no pressure, they can begin short more traditionally and begin to move higher up the pitch. However, if opposition sides commit 2 men higher up ready to press the centre-backs and the goalkeeper, once the ball is active, we see Varane or Lindelof make the move into the defensive midfield position. With Onana being good on the ball, if the presser's angles are not perfect to keep the centre-back in their cover shadow, Onana can potentially find the centre-back. Add to that, United will now have an extra man in the midfield region. Additionally, the movement of the centre-back will often draw a forward more central and potentially deeper. And in these phases, Wan-Bissaka will then drop off to offer the extra option to Onana, meaning they have a deep diamond, opening up more options. And if a wide man presses the keeper, the wall pass will allow United to theoretically break the press and move up the pitch. And Onana's ability to find these riskier passes means that this configuration and general build-up from the goal kick has improved. And his superior long pass range also provides the option to go over the press, which is something we'll no doubt see more of as the season progresses. And his impact extends far beyond just his box in the goal kick build-up. Early in the season, we have consistently seen Ten Hag's preference for the back 3 in the build-up. This is advantageous because when opposition pressed with a single forward, United would maintain flexibility to play in either direction, making it much harder for the opposition to trap them on one side of the pitch or the other. Even if opposition opt for a 2-man press, the 1-man advantage means that there's always the opportunity to escape that press in different ways. Usually, this back 3 is formed either by dropping a defensive midfielder deep or a fullback tucking in. Either way, it is an outfield player who moves to make that back 3 in the deeper region. But when possible, it is Onana who tends to push up to split the centre-backs for Ten Hag. By having the goalkeeper be the 3rd man, Ten Hag reaps the benefits of that back 3, but still saves an outfield player who he can then use elsewhere on the pitch, most pertinently Casemiro now having the scope to remain higher up in the midfield, giving United more numbers higher up in the midfield. These are numbers that United desperately need because the midfield is where the problems begin in earnest for Ten Hag. Since coming in, Ten Hag has not stuck to a strict structure, which is not necessarily a problem. The vague structure he does use though is that of a single pivot, usually in a 3-1-6 shape. This shape has the advantage of looking to overload the opposition backline and getting plenty of men between the lines to allow quick interactions and build-up play. But the ball has to get into these sections for it to be effective, and there's a lot of onus on Casemiro from this pivot position to do the ball progression to get it there. Casemiro is more than capable on the ball, but progressive passing to a truly elite level is not his strongest suit, and it would be tough for any player to do all of this progression single-handedly. Case in point, the 3-1-6 is something that Pep has toyed with in prior seasons, and even Rodri had his fair share of struggles in being effective in this role. Lisandro Martinez can assist with the progression from deep, but having a midfield outlet is still crucial. So what we see at times when United are lined up like this is Bruno Fernandes being forced deeper on the pitch to at least provide a secondary outlet. And Fernandes can operate deep, and is also good at progressive passing to get the ball between the lines. But here is the problem. For the past few seasons, Bruno Fernandes has effectively been United's only creative player, and certainly their only central creative player. Among United's midfielders this season, he of course comfortably has the most key passes per 90, shot creating actions per 90, and expected assists per 90. Beyond that, he's also one of effectively 2 goal threats in the side, with the second most shots per game and the most XG so far this season. All of this is to say, when United drop Bruno Fernandes this deep, they're sapping more of the creativity and the goal threat they have higher up the pitch. The idea behind bringing in Mason Mount may have been for situations just like this, as Mount in open play can also temporarily drop deep, much like Fernandes, and at his best he could be the creator if Fernandes did drop deep. However, in his limited minutes, Mount was not quite at his best, and his injury means that this option is no longer a possibility. However, things can get even worse for United. No matter how skilled the goalkeeper is, the majority of their time will be spent deep, meaning that often Casemiro has to drop deeper into the back 3. With Mount injured, Eriksen has been brought in, and continuing his evolution to be a deeper midfielder, he often becomes a single pivot in the build-up. The personnel has changed, but the problems persist. A single pivot is much more predictable and easier to cut off as a result, and dropping Fernandes deep would still affect the creativity. In fact, to keep Fernandes high, we often see Eriksen having to look for space in regions vacated by the fullbacks, which results in the midfield looking, well, disjointed to say the least. And beyond that, the personnel of the front 6 in that 3-1-6 is not always ideal. Down the right-hand side, though Wan-Bissaka has consistently been improving on the ball, in the attack, he is still not an elite fullback. Antony, on the other hand, prefers to start quite wide and then look to cut in. This often results in at least one of these men being forced into unfamiliar inside positions, reducing their effectiveness. In addition, Antony has not been reaching the levels he did at Ajax, meaning even when United overload the opposition and maneuver 1v1 situations for him, he hasn't been at his effective best. Down the left, things are brighter. When Martial was reinstated, or even during the brief cameo by Højlund, we saw Rashford operating in his preferred role wide on the left, being a goal threat, as well as hitting the byline to create for his teammates. This was after Ten Hag had started the season with Rashford up front for the early part. Rashford's link-up play has improved, but with centre-backs being able to sit deeper, giving him less space to attack in behind utilizing his pace, he was less effective. This gave young Garnacho a chance to shine. But although he could develop into a great player, at this current time, Rashford is levels above, and keeping him in his preferred position makes sense, especially with United starving for goals. Højlund in his cameo looked like he would be a great foil to Rashford, but it remains to be seen if that relationship will help the United attack, which is struggling. And United have only scored 5 goals in 4 matches, and no player on the side has more than 1 goal or more than 1 assist in the league. Even when the chances have been created, the front line and the team in general have been wasteful, underperforming their XG. But the single pivot shape from Ten Hag hasn't just been problematic in the offensive phase. It's been disastrous in the defensive phases. When Casemiro is a single pivot, with Eriksen and Fernandes ahead of him, if there is a turnover, Casemiro is often isolated in midfield and being asked to cover way too much ground. And the opposition have run past the United midfield as if they weren't there on more than one occasion. In addition, if one or both of the fullbacks are high up the pitch in this phase, there is also ample room to counter-attack into down the flanks. A solution that teams often use to be able to play with high eights while having more than one passing option in the midfield, as well as preventing the pivot being isolated when teams counter-attack, is of course either 1 or 2 inverted fullbacks. Wan-Bissaka is not the profile to be an inverted fullback, and initially Luke Shaw was tasked with inverting, which we have seen in the past that he's capable of doing to a decent level. This was slightly more effective. However, Shaw doesn't quite have the same controlling ability of other inverted fullbacks when he moves in field. In addition, it takes something away from his game, as his attacking instinct in the final third is quite effective and is often needed, especially when Rashford does move inside the pitch. But once again, United have been unlucky, and Luke Shaw has picked up an injury, meaning that this solution is not possible either way. Although Dalot, when he's replaced Shaw, still does at times look to invert. So United's poor start is a combination of many factors: injury affecting the new personnel who have come in, as well as facing two of the big six early on. However, the tactical decisions from Ten Hag at times have still been questionable. So I want to know down below what you think the main issue is. And if you enjoyed this video, check out this one about a man who got the better of Ten Hag in Ange Postecoglou.